Welcome to the Limit Free Life Show. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. I bring you tips, advice, and guest stories about creating work you love. Whatever type of career or business you have or want, I want to help you find more meaning, money, and happiness. Now we are live from Hollywood. Hello, and welcome to the Limit Free Life Show. I've got my office situated in a funky way here, so you're seeing some of my papers back there. I'm sorry for that. But trying to deal with some light coming into my office, and I was just on a ladder trying to create some covering for my skylight. I failed miserably. I'm not capable of doing something like that in 5 minutes. So here I am, feeling a little all over the place. But my guess is that everybody's feeling a little all over the place right now. And right now is a good time to do things in a way where you don't worry about whether it's perfect. You just go out there and do it. So that's a big message of mine today. I want to just really help people to feel excited about where we're going, because I know there's a lot of worry. I know there's a lot of anxiety. You've got to be a little asleep to not have some concern, because we don't even know what we're looking at when this is over with, right? We know there's change. For a little while, I think we thought we might go back to normal. Now I think we're seeing that we're going to go to something for sure, but we don't know what it's going to look like. It's going to be a really different world in a lot of areas. Not for everybody, but for a lot of people. And because of that, it affects everybody. So we're all going to feel it. We're all stepping into like a new world. And it's like we're in a tunnel. And when we get out, we're going to look around and there's going to be all this light and newness. And, some of it will be difficult. Some of it will be great. So I think a lot of it is what we create. And so whether it's the ideas and the thoughts that we're creating in our own minds, or whether it's the actual business career worlds that we're creating, some of it is going to happen to us. A lot of it we can influence and we can create. So if you're sitting and waiting, I think this is the biggest message of the day. This is not the time to sit and wait. We've all had a chance to do some puzzles and watch a lot of Netflix. And, I think at this point, it's time for everybody to not be waiting. Waiting isn't going to contribute to your personal development. It's not going to contribute to the future that you're trying to create right now. And because this is now becoming a very creative process, we want to be excited. We want to be excited about what's to come, what we can make of this, what we can find within ourselves to really make some new things. And pivoting, changing, innovating has always been a big part of business. It's always been a big part of creating a career. It's been a big part of creating money in your life. It's been a big part of creating just the life that you want. All aspects of it. So now's our time to get excited. And I know a lot of people are going around and they're like, oh my gosh, what are you worried about right now? And I think that's a terrible question to be asking yourself. Of course, there are worries. There always are. Whether we're in a pandemic or not, we have worries. This is a little bit bigger and more new. So it's even a little bit more worrisome in many ways. However, I think you can flip that question and really ask yourself, what are you excited about right now? Because I know if you really look at what's going on, there are new things out there. There are new ways to make money. There are new careers that are showing up. There are, new ideas for your own business. I took a break from a large it was an event that was part of a networking group that I'm in. It's a mastermind group, a coaching group that I'm part of. And they were in the middle of it's 3 days, but today was the first day. And there was a lot of information out there, a lot of things going on. And so I left that to do the podcast today, but I'm like full of all of this excitement and hearing what people are doing. And people are really switching. There were a lot of people whose businesses depend on travel. They depend on events and being able to do events or trade shows or whatever. And, it's all gone right now for them. And there were really interesting examples of things that people were doing differently or switching to using skills in new ways. And so it was really inspiring. I'm still inspired. And so I want to share some of that with you. And I know the question right now to be asking yourself is not how am I going to survive? You know, what am I worried about? It's where are the opportunities right now? And what can I get excited about? Because once you start thinking of some new things, it can be pretty exciting. A couple of people in the group are filmmakers. I'm going to have them on the show in a couple of weeks, and they help people to create videos for their businesses. They used to be actually Hollywood filmmakers, and so they work with corporate people now, and they do brand story videos and sales videos and course videos, whatever people need. And so they can't do that right now. They can't shoot, you know, with people in the room right now. So they've completely shifted their business. So they're going to be offering editing services. So you do your own video. They're going to teach you how to do great videos, and then they're going to do the editing for you. So they don't have to be in the same room with you, but they have found a way to pivot their business. And they didn't have, I mean, it sounds kind of simple, you know, but they didn't have that idea, and they were really stumped. I mean, it just felt like everything was ending for them because they couldn't, you know, go to your business or have you come to their studio and shoot these videos. So now they're excited. Now they're excited about this new possibility. And I see that everywhere. There are so many things that people are doing that are exciting right now. And I don't think people are going to want to shelve those after this is over. They're just going to enjoy a new revenue stream or two or three. And it's interesting because one of the things that is really, really become apparent to all of us is multiple revenue streams. Well, first of all, cash is king. Multiple revenue streams are really a savior. I mean, if one of them isn't working right now and you've got a couple others, you're okay, you know. And going back to some of the basics, this is something that came up this morning that from some really high level, you know, multi-million-dollar business owners who are saying, we're recognizing that the simple basic rules of business are really important. And we've gotten away from them, partly because things were good. Things were good, things were easy, for some people anyway. And so they get kind of in the groove, and they're not worrying about the basics of business. They're not worrying about just the basics of, you know, you have to bring in more revenue than you're spending. And for some of us, there was this idea that just keep investing and spending because everything is good right now. The economy is great. It'll all just, you know, we'll see this big return. And so things are a little upside down, kind of like it was in the real estate market 10 years ago. So kind of a similar thing, only it's broadened out outside of real estate into everything. And I think in some ways, these are great lessons for us to be reminded of and to go back to the basics, where we're paying really close attention to our cash flow. Maybe our growth is a little slower, but we're hanging on. We're focused on revenue. We're bringing money in. We're borrowing less. We're maybe worrying less about investors and more about building our own revenue, so nobody can control our business. We don't have to pay anything back. And so sometimes the older style, slower growth can be really beneficial, especially if you're keeping cash reserves. That's the other thing that I think a lot of people are finding, that, oops, I don't have enough money to actually keep my business going more than a month or two. And once you see that in your business, you know, and once you see the problems that come from that, I don't think you'll ever go back to operating that way. It just doesn't make any sense. So we're learning a lot. And I think, you know, really we're learning about the basics of business. Everybody has said, make sure you have some reserves, make sure you have a line of credit, make sure that the things you're doing are revenue generating for the most part. Of course, there's always some, you know, behind the scenes work where we're marketing, we're building foundational pieces, but that focus on revenue, if you've taken your eye off of that, then you might be, you know, sitting in kind of a difficult place right now. So these are really just foundational, basic things. We're working on what is working. So if you have certain things in your business that make money fairly easily, they work, and you're running around trying to create all these other things all the time, getting back to focusing on what works and actually, expanding that, because that's already proven to be working. A lot of times in business, we're idea people and we have fun with ideas. So we're doing something, it works, but then that gets a little boring. And like, let's go find the next idea and let's work on that. But one of the fundamentals is if it's working, then pay attention to it and nurture it and, keep that as a major focus of your business, and still, focus on some other ideas as well. But especially in times like this, you want to see what's working. You want to know your business really well. You want to know where your business comes from, and you want to look back, back in time and see, how did I get that business? And are those sources still viable? And so maybe just focus for now on what works really well. These are basics. This is the simple stuff in a way, and yet we get away from it. We forget how important it is. It's kind of like when you think back in time and you remember your grandparents talking about, saving because of the Depression, and they had gone through that. And so they had this whole mindset of what was important. And I think in some ways we've lost some of that. And, you don't want to have a lack mindset. I'm all about money mindset. And you don't want to be worried all the time and anxious. You want to have this good relationship with your money. But at the same time, part of that is just taking care of it. It's like your kids, you want to give them the basics of food and shelter, and you want to make sure that's really intact before you go on to, enrolling them in every extracurricular. It's kind of the same. So your business is your baby, your career is your baby. What are you doing right now to really nurture it and also make sure that the fundamentals are there, and the simple rules that we haven't been paying attention to are really key. And it's a great time just to get into the mode of figuring it out. And whether you're looking for a job and it's taking a long time, or you're in business, it is a constant process of figuring it out. It's problem after problem. That's what, if you want to be an entrepreneur, I think that you have to be a problem solver. You have to be somebody who actually enjoys that and doesn't just get frustrated and depressed and want to beat your head against the wall every time there's a problem, because it's essentially a series of problems that you're solving all the time. And so this idea that maybe you can enjoy problems, maybe you can get kind of excited about problems, because from every problem and every difficulty, you get better, and your company gets better, your team gets better. Everybody's getting better all the time when you're dealing with challenges and issues and, distress, basically. So you don't want to, you also want to have some fun. So there's this balance there. And on this call this event I was just on, Barbara Corcoran came on and spoke, the Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank. And she was so candid. It was a Zoom call with Barbara Corcoran. So that was really cool, actually. But she had such fascinating things to say about building her business. And she was, she really started from scratch and came from a poor background. And she really was a builder. And she was saying how you never want to make decisions out of desperation, because we are in a little bit of a desperate time, and for some people. And so you don't want, she had like 3 times where some people wanted to buy her business and wanted to pay her almost nothing. I mean, at the time it seemed like really a lot, but in retrospect, after she sold her business for like $66 million, it was nothing. It was, the first offer was like $50,000. And so you definitely, when you're in a scary, desperate feeling situation and somebody comes along and offers you something, it might seem really appealing in that moment. And basically, I think the message was really, don't make that decision right away. Sleep on it and then come back and see if you're making that decision for the right reason, or is it really just a sense of fear and desperation? And could you pivot and do something different in your business that would change the game and allow you to keep it and keep it going? She was also talking about how important it is to, people right now are laying their staff and their employees off. There's so much input from those employees, and oftentimes you really want to get the minds of others involved in this decision making. And your employees they know your business really well, and they have great ideas too. And so kind of gathering everybody together and getting the team together to brainstorm and come up with some possibilities for you is a really great idea as well, and also gives them a sense of positivity and hope. And the another thing that she was talking about is staying so positive and having a positive attitude through this, because what else can you do? I mean, if you start blaming other people, you're basically, you're not operating anymore. You're basically just sitting and doing nothing except blaming or complaining or feeling like a victim. And you can do that for a few minutes if you want, but basically that doesn't get you anywhere, and you can't innovate and come up with new ideas from that victim kind of mentality. That's not the state of mind. So whatever it takes to get out of that state of mind and start seeing things differently, that's really, what you need and what you want. She was also talking about fun. And despite everything, we can't forget to have some fun, whatever that means for you. And so if you have to take just a break, if everything's falling apart and you need to take a break and go work in your garden or dance or do whatever you do for fun, you've got to do it, because that is going to change your mindset. That's going to allow you to come up with these new ideas that you need. And so, this resiliency, I mean, in some ways, this is an amazing time. If you don't know what to get excited about how strong and resilient and flexible you're going to be. How the next time something like this comes along, you're going to have these skills. It's not going to throw you. You're going to look back to, okay, what did I do during the coronavirus pandemic? Because those skills will be with you forever. And this kind of resiliency and being able to, dig really deep within yourself to find your strength. I mean, you do that in other areas. You do that as a parent when your child is sick and in the hospital. You've got to pull everything out of you to be able to be there for them. You do this for your elderly parents. You do this, when you're at the gym and you just want to go to that next level. I mean, you're pulling something out of you that you didn't know you had. And that's kind of where we are. And if we do that, that's something to be excited about. That's something to gain confidence from. So I actually think this is a powerful time in so many ways. And I know that it's super difficult, especially for people who have loved ones who are sick. That's the worst. And then for people whose businesses may be going under, there are people, record numbers of unemployment, record numbers, I think, of bankruptcies beginning. And that's not good, obviously. But what is exciting is that if you do think of it as a creation opportunity, and we're really creating, not only are you able to create a new business for yourself, or even if you're in the career track, there are going to be new opportunities for you. There are also opportunities for you to do other things on the side, which some people really like, and that may turn into something full-time, who knows? So there is a lot to be excited about. There are new things coming for you and for the world. And I really do think that this is a very exciting time. And I think having that attitude allows you to look for the opportunities, allows you to look for, what is happening? I mean, I know fashion designers who are, designing masks and really selling these things like crazy. It's really, it's interesting what's possible. I know, people are listening to more podcasts. So there are more people who are doing podcasts. And so, there were some examples that came up this morning of companies that you don't know have had to pivot. Like YouTube was once a dating site when it started. Nintendo was really weird. It was, they had so many different things that they did. They sold rice. They owned taxi services. They owned hotels. I mean, it like somehow they morphed into finding, gaming as their superpower, but they didn't start there. So there are many, many examples, and I really think we're forced right now. When things are easy, we don't get out of the box as much. And there's a coach, Michael Burnoff, who talks a lot about how average sucks because average is okay, like things are going okay. And so you don't have enough resistance and pressure to really like burst into something great. And so, this is kind of the time where you can do this. You may come out on the other side of this either having a more amazing, interesting job down the road than you thought you would be finding, or you might just take your business to a completely new level and be doing offering services and products that you never dreamed of. So it really is an opening right now. It really is a wonderful time to use all the ingenuity you can find. And if you can find it, while surfing or gardening or whatever, then go do those things so the ideas start popping. That was one thing that Barbara Corcoran said too, when she's stuck, when she doesn't know what to do, she gardens, she pulls weeds. That's what she said. If she goes outside and she pulls weeds for an hour, she is going to come up with brilliant ideas. It happens every time, she said. So she doesn't sit at her desk. She doesn't even go into a meeting about it necessarily initially. But when she's really down and feeling like I just have a problem I can't figure out, she goes out there and pulls weeds. So, what's for you? What can you do where you can figure these things out? So I think that's really the main thing I wanted to talk about. They talked about luck and creativity merging. And I don't know if we really feel like this is a lucky time, but there are businesses that are booming. A friend of mine told me the other day that he went to go buy some exercise equipment for his home. Couldn't find any. I mean, the only place you could get it was Dick's Sporting Goods, and you couldn't get it until August. I know if you're out there trying to find puzzles, if you're out there trying to find, Flowbee, the company Flowbee that does the hair cutting, your own, you cut your own hair with it, just booming right now. So despite the fact that a lot of businesses are finding that they're not as in demand or they just can't operate like restaurants, there are also companies that are just going nuts right now. So it's interesting, and you want to, kind of look to the future with how do I virus proof my company? How do I recession proof my company? How do I make kind of a safer space for me to play here so that I can play forever? And whether that means having more cash reserves, whether that means, changing the way you do business, I think it's all a really good thing, because it makes me realize how insecure our lives have been. I mean, when you're operating with a month's worth of living expenses or 2 months worth of operating expenses for your business, that is, I think, because things have been okay, we haven't felt it. But when you really get down and think about it, that is not the way to live. I mean, that is constantly being on the brink, and that can't possibly be good for our mental health, and also just to allow us to move forward into some new things too, because we're always scrambling. We're basically in survival mode doing it that way. So we don't want that. That's not a good thing. And if that's you, if that's the way you've been operating, then this is a great opportunity to change it up, to do new things with your money, to do new things with your business, to do new things with your career plans. And I guess the biggest message that I have is, this is not a time to wait. This is the time to do. And even though there are things you can't do, I hear it all the time. Well, what's the point of getting on LinkedIn right now and making connections because nobody's hiring? Well, those two things, you don't need people to be hiring to want to make connections. It's super important to make those relationships, expand your network, so that when things come up again, you have a much wider, broader network of people to talk to. So now is a great time to be making relationships, reaching out to people, connecting more with people, picking up the phone and calling people. That's what right now is really for. And then when people are hiring again and business is back in business, then you're going to have so many more people in your world. And that's really the name of the game. Those relationships are going to help you. You'll get practice communicating with people if you're making these contacts. These things are all good. So please don't wait. Please don't, you might be sad, and that's okay. People are going through that too. They have a good week, they have a bad week, they have a good day, a bad day. That's okay. I think some acceptance of the fact that a lot of this is out of our control, and one day it's going to bother us more than another day. And so just accepting that, okay, this is a bad day. I'm in a bad mood. I feel sad today. that's all fine. And, you just accept it and move on and let it go. And so I think surrendering a little to that is really powerful as well. And really, when you have those good days where you do feel energized and excited, those are days to really be productive and make the most of them. So that's really what I wanted to talk about today. I have a couple of things coming up. I've got a program that I'm calling Your Money Date, which I am going to go with you on very specific money dates so that you can develop a better and more loving and caring relationship with your money, which I think I had planned this already. And I think the timing of it is even better now than ever, because it is about going back to the basics. And it's also about understanding your own money beliefs and thoughts and feelings and patterns, and changing what you need to change, and going through and actually identifying specifics in your life that you want to work on, and we're going to work on them together. So there's going to be a lot of mindset shifting, and there's also going to be a lot of practical actions. And by, in a couple of months, you're going to be a very different person with money. You're going to be different in how you think about it, and you're going to be and feel about it. And then you're also going to be different in what you're doing on a regular, consistent basis to pay attention to it and take care of things. So that is something that's coming up. And if you want to hear more about that, I would love to talk to you about it. You can email me at michelle@limitfreelife.com. And please go visit limitfreelife.com. I've been putting out weekly blogs and information. It's all helpful information on a variety of topics. So you can sign up for my newsletter on my website. And there's also a new freebie that I have that I don't think is quite on my website yet, but you're welcome to email me and get that. That is basically aligning your purpose, your career with your purpose, and how to think about that and how to do that. So you can email me and get that as well. So that's today's show. I hope you'll ask yourself, what am I excited about today? What am I excited about, as this pandemic time is hopefully winding down. We're actually starting to think about the other side of this, and we know it's going to look different. What can I do that is going to make this all worth it and make my life better going forward? So I think it's a great question. I think once you ask the question, the answers start to come, and you can ask it of yourself, you can ask it of the universe, and you can ask it to, your friends and your mentors, and just see what kind of help you can get to, because again, more minds can be very helpful. So that's our show today. And again, please reach out to me if you're having issues, career-wise or business-wise. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you and see if we could work through, a particular problem, come up with a little strategy for you. So thanks so much, and have a great week, and get ready for a very new limit-free life coming up around the corner once you figure out some new actions that you can take.